have to get to the big one, the big kahuna, or one of the big kahunas, which is Cobalt Blue.
Oh, God.
My thoughts about this thing is, if they had done the original storyline from the comics, I would have liked to see that. I know at this point, some of those tropes are cliche. For those of you watching that don't know the original story, Malcolm Thawne is actually Barry's biological twin brother. He got stolen at birth because the doctor that stole him, Dr. Gilmore, killed the Thawne child. So he took Malcolm, gave him to the Thawnes, and told Nora and Henry that their second son was dead. So Malcolm grows up as a Thawne, and he kind of gets into their powers, but he gets abused by them, and so it's this whole thing. So I thought that would have been much more interesting if that were real, but it needed to be more than the last 4 episodes. If we're going to do Cobalt Blue in any form, comics version or this version, we needed more than 4 episodes. I personally love the idea of Eddie wanting to get his original timeline life back, because he killed himself to stop Eobard, and it didn't work. So his sacrifice was for nothing. So I think the motivation of saying, well, then I want Iris back. Nora should be mine. I want to be happy. I want to live past 30. What's wrong with that? See, I thought all that was good, but we needed more than 4 episodes to really delve into that.
And the problem with that whole thing for me is that it's got the negative Speed Force as yet another anthropomorphic personification of a non-existent existential cosmic force.
You need to
Mark
put that
Wade, I
on a
hate for
t-shirt.
inventing this thing in the first place.
Right. I mean, they should have used Eddie through the entire beginning of the season and led up to the return of the Reverse Flash, because obviously, Reverse Flash was such a dominant figure throughout the entire story that if they had just brought him back and brought back every sort of Wells they could in the last few episodes, like that the fans would have eaten that up. Those are the characters that they love. So, the fact that they had to bring back, like the fact that instead they went with this evil version of Batman that they couldn't call Batman, so they had to use Batwoman and have it be the Flash. Like, I mean, that was meaningless to fans. I mean, you're in the
they wanted to use
season.
Red Death.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Red Death is somebody that we all know from the comics, but nobody else has any emotional connection to. So to waste your entire last season, which is already a truncated season, on a character nobody knows, instead of bringing back Eddie from the beginning, we know that actor's not doing anything. Bring him back from the beginning and have him be in every episode leading up to the return of Reverse Flash or something else as like the real big bad, right at the very end, like kind of.
Yeah, and I will say, I will say that Eddie was always a character that I thought in season 1 was going to end up being a bad guy at some point. So that's logical. I also don't necessarily have a problem with using him as a villainous role in this season, bringing him back somehow and doing that. And even the Cobalt Blue connection, I don't have a problem with.
Right.
I was never a huge fan of the twin brother thing. But I will say the problem is the execution. He comes across for too much of this episode as being mustache twirling and maniacal. Even if his motivations make sense, the problem is that in the execution, he doesn't act as somebody who is in any way redeemable for the first part of it. And I think that that's a mistake, because the whole storyline is about, okay, Barry finding his inspiration, to try to talk him down, and bring him towards the good side, which I think is a very Barry thing to do. But here's the thing: they didn't take. Yeah,
he's done it.
But they didn't take the Luke Skywalker point from that, which is number one, Darth Vader does not want to kill him, and there should have been scenes establishing that he might not have wanted to kill Iris or the baby. Some scene in the hospital with that would have shown me, okay, there is something to there. He can be changed, and Keone has some logic in thinking he can be changed and can persuade Barry based on that. There was none of that there. The whole time he's playing around with Barry and acting ridiculous. And it's like, because there's nothing foreshadowed and there is nothing planted, when the things pays off, it comes out of nowhere. And it's like, really? It comes across as a convenient shift. And that, I think, was a huge, huge mistake in an arc that might have had some legs if they had executed it better.
And they also already did it with the Speed Force that looked like Barry's mom. I mean, they have already done that in a prior
Right.
season. The entire storyline has already been
surprised.
done in a prior season. She just used a different set of minions, right? They just couldn't come up with anything but the obvious.
Plus, with the cobalt blue powers, there's so much that they can do that, I mean, because he made the flaming sword. It's a little bit like Green Lantern in terms of object construction, but they can steal powers. The main thing about that blue flame is that it heals. That's the core of the Thawns and their powers, even though they use it many times for not good things. And you don't get any of that. See, now, what I would have done is I would have made him the big bad all season long. I would have made the I am your father, I'm your brother reveal, the Darth Vader Luke Skywalker thing in the penultimate episode. And that would have been the cliffhanger. Like right as we go to closing credits. You know, have you ever wondered, Barry, why we've always been so close? Have you ever wondered why you being the Flash never freaked me out? Have you ever wondered why I've understood you? Sometimes even more than ours. And Barry's like, yeah, that's always kind of been strange. Well, let me tell you why that is. Because I'm your brother. So that would have happened.
And they look like they could be brothers, Grant Gustin and the actor playing Thawne.
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh, man,
Yeah,
Rick Cosman could have been Barry. He looks like Barry. Grant looks like Wally, maybe.
Right.
But I would have done that. Another thing that I thought was going to happen, and you guys can chime in on this too, because the finale took no chances. It was the safest, most predictable. It was almost like on a special episode of Hallmark Flash. It was just
that was especially the second half.
It felt like that. Here's what I thought was going to happen. What I would have done, because we're going to get to Nora in a minute. Because holy cow, can you spell paradox? So when Nora
she should have disappeared off the couch the minute she was born.
Jake, you can't do that. You'll change the future.
What I thought was going to happen was I thought Eddie was going to super speed Nora away and take her to a dimension that Barry couldn't reach, or that Barry would have to level up to get to. Like my favorite arc, I forgot the actual story arc, but my favorite trick that Mirror Master ever did was that he hid the Kents in a mirror dimension where Superman couldn't see him. And Superman was freaking out. Do y'all remember what story that's from? I don't remember. You know what I'm talking about? No, but anyway, he did that. It was off the chain. That's what I thought Eddie Thawne was going to do. I thought he was going to snatch Nora as soon as she's born. That puts future Nora in jeopardy. That freaks Barry and Iris out. And then I thought he was going to make Barry make a choice. It's like, either you give me my family, or I'm going to take them all from you. Now that would have been the confrontation, at least in my mind. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So what do you guys think about this no chance taken finale? Just no chances. Start with RJ.
This whole series, if I'm going to have a headcanon on it, it's going to be like my headcanon on The Matrix. It was one movie and there were no sequels. This one here, this series ended 3 episodes ago when they brought the entire origin full circle and left the Reverse Flash alone in the past when he couldn't kill Barry's mother and lost his speed. That just brings it right back around to first season. Perfect full circle ending. The rest of this stuff was like, oh crap, we still got a couple of weeks left on contracts here. Let's do something.
I wanted it to finish with Ollie coming back. I think the episode where Green Arrow came back, I loved that episode, and I realized half the episode was exactly everything we're talking about. It was horrible, but every scene with like Ollie and Barry back, and that's where Barry started, right? He started with Green Arrow, so let him finish there. Let him have a scene with his old gang at the end of that episode. But let Green Arrow have his farewell at the same time, or make that the second last episode and then finish it off or something like that. It would have given a different momentum to it where I actually cared about it. Instead, we got like extra episodes in between I could care less about.
It was fluff and filler, and I mean, okay, the demise of the Arrowverse and the Flash coming down as they did in these episodes was prophesied years ago when the Flash crossed over with Supergirl. If you remember the scene, Cat Grant looks up and there's Kara and Wynn and James Olsen and Barry, and she's like, all 4 of you standing there doing nothing. You look like the attractive yet non-threatening, racially diverse cast of a CW show.
Holy cow, I forgot about that line, but you're right.
Yeah,
That's
and it was
back
just
when that
this
show was decent.
perfect
Yeah.
meta explanation. Of course, they weren't CW at the time, so she could get away with it.
No, that's absolutely right. Steve, what do you think about the no chance taken finale?
Yeah, it was just yeah. They rushed half of it to completion. They nerfed the villains completely. They just did everything to push all that stuff off the stage because the writers were clearly more interested in the second half, which was dealing with all the character fluff and dealing with all these people nobody cares about and these plot points that nobody cares about. Hanging lampshades on paradoxes. I mean, and all these other stupid things that it's just like, yeah, but we care about these people, not these other people. And
it was FlashCon.
It was FlashCon, and it just seemed like the writers were kind of indulging themselves at the expense of the A plot, which is what should have been important. And they rushed it. They should have dragged it out a little bit more. There could have been something there if they had allowed things to flow. How do you have a team up of the most powerful speedsters, in the Arrowverse, and then have them just be casually dismissed by Team Flash like that? It's ridiculous.
Right.
Allegra versus Edward, no way.
Yeah. Team Flash usually struggles to stop one of them.
Right.
One. And it's just, and now you're going to tell me that you're going to put all of them together and they're just going to be dispatched like nothing because you want to get onto the real stuff for you, which is, all of the end game stuff.
Even if they just had Barry fight those villains one after the other through some device where he had to physically fight each of them and find different ways of defeating each of them within the episode, that would have been so much more powerful. Instead, like you got like Cecile using her powers to defeat one. It's just ridiculous. Like it's absolutely ludicrous.
Yeah. Do you know how tired I got of Jean Grey Cecile? Are we just going to Phoenix you out at the end too? They ended up Phoenixing out Keon, but okay, I was going to do Nora, but let's do this since we talked about it.
Oh yeah, I want to bring up one quick thing before you bring up that. One other problem is there's no stakes because characters seemingly die only to suddenly be okay so that we can have the happy ending at the end of the thing. And somebody should have died. Realistically, if those things had happened, somebody should have died. Chunk or Chester should have been dead.
Didn't die.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.